to voice opposition to changes to federal anti-discrimination policies.
Plus, former President Donald Trump is subpoenaed by the U.S. House January 6th committee.
And in sports, Ohio hockey looks to remain hot on the ice. Newswatch starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Emma Dallamer.
And I'm Juliana Colant. Welcome to Newswatch, your source for news impacting southeastern Ohio. The Ohio State Board of Education is taking more time to consider a resolution voicing opposition to expanded federal anti-discrimination policies.
The changes would cut federal funding for student lunches at schools that don't include protections for LGBTQ+ students. The proposed resolution is being sent to the board's executive committee because many members said they have too many questions about the measure. The board's decision to delay the vote comes after about 150 people testified for or against the resolution. Some members even pointed out that more than 24 people who wanted to testify didn't get the opportunity to do so. Those who did testify included some Ohio legislators who are sponsoring controversial legislation of their own involving LGBTQ issues at the Ohio State House. The school board meets monthly and the executive committee doesn't meet every month, so this resolution likely won't be voted on before November 8th when some of the board members are up for re-election. With only 2 months before the end of this year, some members who have heard the testimony might not be given an opportunity to vote on the measure before they leave at the end of the year. Former Nelsonville York High School women's basketball coach has been indicted on 1 count of sexual battery. Robert Cassidy allegedly engaged in sexual conduct with a student in April or May of 2019. Past allegations against Cassidy were investigated by local law enforcement and resulted in no form of disciplinary action. After years of allegations against him, Cassidy resigned from his coaching position back in 2019. Cassidy then began working as a middle school teacher. Nelsonville York Superintendent Rick Edwards says at the time of the past investigation, law enforcement reported there was nothing to the allegations. Cassidy's court appearance is scheduled for October 26th.
A Hocking County couple has pleaded guilty to the possession of child pornography. On Wednesday, 41-year-old Carrie Daniels pleaded guilty to sexually exploiting children and possessing child pornography. Her partner, 37-year-old Robert Guymanhart, pleaded guilty to related offenses last month. The couple exchanged thousands of illicit messages about children. The National Center for Missing and Exploited Children received a tip via Kik about the couple's online child exploitation. Both Daniels and Guymanhart now await sentencing. A trial of the Huntington man continues with testimony from a retired member of the Huntington Police Forensics Unit. 78-year-old R.G. Jeffers was accused of killing and dismembering 40-year-old Carrie Sowards in September of 2017. WSAZ reports that the case began after Sowards' remains were found at the boat ramp in Gardendot. A relative of Jeffers was also told police that he discovered body parts inside buckets. Prosecutors called 3 witnesses to the stand on Tuesday, and Jeffers is expected to take the stand on Friday.
It's been looking a lot like fall, and it's been feeling a lot like fall too, finally. In Athens today, right now, we're looking at 58 degrees, so it did cool down quite a bit from earlier. We did reach the low 60s earlier today, and we did see some more sunshine, but right now, some more clouds rolled in, so we're looking at a cloudier evening right now. And as you can see here, we do have some showers to the west of us in Athens, but those showers that we saw earlier have disappeared this afternoon, and we are seeing some light showers to the east of us, but again, nothing hitting our area right now. And as we take a look at our current temperatures, we are seeing some low 50s to some low 60s across the board. Here in Athens, we're looking at 61, and in our surrounding areas, Lancaster 61, Wilmington 63, and as we move up north, we are looking at 61, and as we move down south into the Huntington, Charleston area, 63 and 64, and it is expected to cool down this evening, which I'll touch on in my full weather forecast.
A boil advisory is lifted for the city of Zanesville following a water main break Monday afternoon. The break on a 16-inch line ran from the Riverside Ballpark under the Muskingum River to north of Cleveland Cliffs. Zanesville water system size should only have about 30 breaks a year, but the city usually sees about 170, says Zanesville Mayor Don Mason. The mayor attributes this amount to repairing and patching the water lines over the last 30 years instead of replacing them. Ohio leaders are considering a proposal that would award Honda more than $70 million in tax credits for the company's plans for a new battery plant and a transition to electric vehicle manufacturing. State House correspondent Andy Chow reports that the job creation tax credit proposal for Honda would total $71.3 million over the course of 30 years. The Ohio Department of Development also says it is working with the state legislature to invest $85 million in local water and transportation infrastructure upgrades to, quote, ensure the success of the project and benefit the local communities. The state incentives are in response to Honda's plan for a $3.5 billion battery plant in Fayette County, with the company planning another $700 million in investments to transition its manufacturing plants for EV production. The projects in total are expected to generate 2,500 new jobs.
Calling all West Virginia K-12 students, the First Lady Ornament Competition begins this fall. All students in public or private schools and homeschooling are eligible to join. The governor's office is asking for Nutcracker-themed ornaments to decorate a tree in the Culture Center in Charleston. Participants' ornaments and the tree will be unveiled in early December at the annual Joyful Night celebration. November 18th is the deadline to submit an ornament. Nicholas Cruz, charged in the shooting at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School, has been sentenced. And former President Donald Trump, legal trouble grows. These stories and more when Newswatch returns.
Next time on Antiques Roadshow, we're looking back at our 2008 trip to Michigan. But this treasure is certainly not in Kansas anymore.
I purchased these swords from the Wizard of Oz movie from an auction company. I paid $595 for them back in 1984.
Has the value of this movie memorabilia gone up, down, or stayed the same since our visit? Find out next time on Vintage Grand Rapids, Hour 1.
Monday at 8 on WOUB.
Coming up on the next Song of the Mountains.
You think this is some kind of paradise you're living?
Lively performances where old tradition meets new here on Song of the Mountains.
Thursday at 8 on WOUB.
This is the bottom of the harmony. This is the ground. Everything comes out of the ground.
Mingus is John Coltrane. Mingus is Kendrick Lamar.
He let you know what was in his heart. He let you know joy. He let you know great pain.
I thought my dad was a piano player. I had no idea he was one of the greatest bass players to ever live.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
An American experience.
Jeans are the quintessential American garment.
They are universal and individual at the same time, but it's always the same story.
It's about the cowboys in the West. It's about Levi Strauss and the gold rush.
And yet so much of the story we tell about jeans is a myth.
Riveted, the history of jeans on American Experience.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz avoided a death sentence in a Florida courtroom this afternoon.
The ruling is sending shock and anger through some family members of victims as the jury recommendations against him were read aloud. Mike Valerio has the latest.
Tears are shed, hands held tight.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the state has established beyond a reasonable doubt the existence of the aggravating factor. Nicholas Cruz knowingly created a great risk of death to many persons. Yes.
Only a judge's voice cuts through the silence in a Florida courtroom as she reads aloud a jury's recommended sentences to Parkland school shooter Nicholas Cruz.
We, the jury, unanimously find that the aggravating factors that were proven beyond a reasonable doubt outweigh the mitigating circumstances established? No.
Cruz is now set to be formally sentenced November 1st after pleading guilty last October to 17 counts of murder and 17 counts of attempted murder for killing 14 students and 3 school staff members in a shooting rampage at Florida's Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School in February 2018.
I pray that that animal suffers every day of his life in jail.
Some victims' family members showing clear frustration as life sentence after life sentence is recommended, and Cruz avoids a death sentence.
I sent my daughter to school and she was shot 8 times. I am so beyond disappointed and frustrated with this outcome. I do not understand. I just don't understand this.
You set a precedent for the next mass killing, and nothing happens to you. You'll get life in jail.
I'm Mike Valerio reporting.
Broward Circuit Judge Elizabeth Scherer is expected to issue Cruz's formal sentence on November 1st. The Supreme Court rejects former President Donald Trump's plea for involvement in the FBI's search of his Florida estate. In a Supreme Court filing, the Justice Department says Trump's request has no merit. Trump's plea to step into the legal fight is because of classified documents seized in the search of his estate in Mar-a-Lago. Roughly 11,000 documents were seized by the FBI, and of that, around 100 documents have classification markings. Trump's team was asking the justices to permit a special master to review the classified documents and overturn a lower court ruling.
The January 6th committee has voted to subpoena former President Donald Trump. Along with voting to subpoena the former president, the Select Committee released new, never-before-seen footage and conversations of congressional leaders and security forces. Committee Chair Benny Thompson said in his opening statement, this hearing is different from all the previous hearings.
There's one more difference about today. Pursuant to the notice circulated prior to today's proceedings, we are convened today not as a hearing, but as a formal committee business meeting, so that in addition to presenting evidence, we can potentially hold a committee vote on further investigative action based upon that evidence.
The committee showed new evidence they say were a part of Trump's plans to stay in power, plans that led to the Capitol attack. Republican Vice Chairman Liz Cheney said of Trump's actions that none of this is normal. The panel ended their hearing by voting unanimously to summon the former president to testify during a public hearing. They also plan to seek documents directly from Trump. Political experts do not expect the ex-commander-in-chief to comply with the subpoena. In fact, the action will most likely trigger a prolonged court battle. Today's hearing is the committee's final public hearing scheduled before the November midterms. Inflation is taking a toll on more than just food and gas prices. That story's still ahead.
It sure cleared up this afternoon, but should we expect that to continue this weekend? Find out in my full weather forecast. And if you want more of Newswatch, you can check us out on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.
On American Experience.
Jeans are the quintessential American garment.
They are universal and individual at the same time, but it's always the same story.
It's about the cowboys in the West. It's about Levi Strauss and the gold rush.
And yet so much of the story we tell about jeans is a myth.
Riveted, the history of jeans on American Experience.
Saturday at 9 on WOUB.
On Secrets of the Dead, the first major archaeological dig at Pompeii in decades. Stunning discoveries.
The new chariot, it's the Lamborghini of this ancient world.
And a deeper understanding of the doomed city's population.
Our main interest is the life world of these people.
Last Days of Pompeii on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
In East Africa, there is a spectacle of nature that can be seen from space. It's an event that supports an entire ecosystem, but the world is changing.
I've seen a number of these wildebeest decreasing.
The migration is gone because of the fences.
A delicate balance has been upset.
Who's responsible for them? Who is the voice for these animals?
Wednesday at 8 on WOUB.
Resistance was a necessity.
On making Black America.
Slaves were freed, but African Americans had not become truly equal citizens.
Organizing for change. And Black life, Black joy.
Creating these spaces or enclaves that allow us to feel good about ourselves and good in the world, even if the world isn't good.
Tuesday at 9 on WOUB.
It wasn't looking too promising this morning, but as the day went on, the sun decided to gift us with this lovely autumn afternoon. Here in Athens today, we were looking at a temperature high of 61 degrees, so we're in the low 60s. We're looking at some seasonable fall temperatures and a temperature low of 38, so it was a chillier morning, and we are expecting that temperature to come back this evening, but it was partly sunny, and we haven't really seen sunshine in a little while, so it was nice to have a sunnier fall day. And we aren't seeing any rain here in Athens right now, and we haven't seen any this past afternoon from this morning. But as we move to the west of us, we are seeing some light showers, and to the east of us. But on a wider scale, we are seeing some light to medium showers to the west of us. And the rain that we saw earlier has dissipated and shifted to the east. So we're not going to see any of that rain right now or anytime soon. As you can see, tonight we're going to have a mostly clear evening. We are expecting to see some overcast clouds, but nothing's going to rain on our pleasant night. And we're going to have an overnight low of 38. So if you got out this morning, it's going to feel a lot like that. It's going to be chillier. So I'd say a t-shirt really isn't going to cut it. And we did have a windier morning, but that wind is going to lighten up a lot tonight, so don't expect to blow away anytime soon. It's not going to be too bad. And in Athens tomorrow, we are looking at a temperature high of 63, so it's going to bump up a little bit. It's going to be about 2 degrees warmer than today with a low of 45. So that low isn't going to be as low as we're seeing today. So it's going to warm up a little bit in the morning, and it's going to be mostly sunny, so it's going to be a more pleasant fall day. But as we move into this weekend, on Saturday night, we do have a cold front moving in, but that's not going to come in until later in the evening. In the afternoon on Saturday, it's going to be a breezy day, sunny afternoon, but at night we are expecting to see some rainfall, but that's going to go away on Sunday. We're going to be seeing that cold front lingering around. It's going to be a low of 41, so it's going to be a little chillier with a high of 64, but that chance of rainfall is going to come back on Monday and haunt us, unfortunately. We are going to see some scattered rain throughout the day with a high of 54 and a low of 31. But Tuesday, that's the day we're going to see our coldest temperature. We're going to have a high of 48 with a low of 30, and I hate to say it, but Tuesday might be the day that we are expecting our first day of frost. So definitely keep that in mind. And it's going to be mostly cloudy, but on Wednesday, it's going to warm up a little bit with some sunshine peeking out with a high of 50. And on Thursday, we're going to see a little bit more cloud coverage with a high of 55. So expect these cooler temperatures to come back next week.
The prices of everyday goods and services continue to soar, impacting Americans' financial security. New action from the Social Security Administration could boost the spending power for benefits recipients, but it may not be enough. Isabel Rosales is in Washington with more.
A new report out Thursday from the Bureau of Labor Statistics is revealing something most Americans already know. The prices of consumer goods and services are still surging, and people are feeling the pain everywhere, from the supermarket checkout to the doctor's office.
It's not just disappointing, it's actually damaging for households in the sense that their buying power has been robbed by inflation.
Data from September's Consumer Price Index came in hotter than expected, showing inflation rising 8.2% last month compared to a year earlier. That means despite September's lower gas prices and aggressive actions from the Federal Reserve, which take time to have a pronounced effect, just about everything got more expensive.
The major contributors to this rising inflation in the latest reading include many things that we cannot do without. This includes food, shelter, a measure basically of rent or what we're paying with our house payments, as well as medical care.
In response to the exploding cost of living, the Social Security Administration announced an 8.7% boost in monthly payments beginning next year, the largest increase in more than 40 years. But some analysts say this still won't be enough to help the 70 million benefits recipients weather the financial storm.
I am concerned, however, that that doesn't quite keep pace with inflation or the real costs that many people have to pay when we're thinking about shelter, heating costs, and medical care and prescription drugs.
In Washington, I'm Isabel Rosales.
Rising inflation is causing mortgage rates to hit a 20-year high. According to Freddie Mac, in the week ending Thursday, the average rate for a 30-year fixed-rate mortgage was 6.92%. That's the highest average rate since April 2002 and more than double the rate a year ago. The Federal Reserve is hiking interest rates to combat rising inflation, which has caused concerned investors to make moves impacting the mortgage rates. Freddie Mac's chief economist warns the next several months will undoubtedly be important for the economy and the housing market. He says home sales are already dropping and prices are cooling.
Mortgage rates aren't the only thing that's rising. Next year, you may have to pay more to see the doctor. Experts say most employees can expect a cost increase for health insurance coverage and out-of-pocket doctor's visits. Insurance premiums are usually set in advance, lasting for 12 months. Look for new contracts during open enrollment period, which typically runs this month and next. Hospitals, doctors, and other providers are feeling pricing pressure. Cost of labor, particularly nurses and service staff, and supplies increased sharply due to inflation and demand. They see more patients now who may have put off checkups or tests during the pandemic, which means patients are often sicker when they come. Providers may be pushing insurers to hike their reimbursement rates when contracts are up for renewal.
Coming up in sports, Ohio hockey looks to defend their perfect record on the ice. Find out who's trying to cool off the red-hot Bobcats when Newswatch returns.
On Secrets of the Dead, the first major archaeological dig at Pompeii in decades. Stunning discoveries.
The new chariot, it's the Lamborghini of this ancient world.
And a deeper understanding of the doomed city's population.
Our main interest is the life world of these people.
Last Days of Pompeii on Secrets of the Dead.
Wednesday at 10 on WOUB.
I took astronomy from Carl Sagan in 1977. The guy had a huge influence on me. Cosmos on PBS was Carl Sagan's lectures with fabulous graphics.
Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
PBS and I are a perfect match. It's just wonderful programming, not just for kids, but for all of us.
Carry on. Don't you people have school to work on?
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
It's week 9 and the action is as good as ever in the 740. This Friday, the Sheridan Generals travel to Tri-Valley to take on the Scotties with the NBL title on the line. The Jackson Ironmen aim to defend their home turf against Washington Courthouse in one of the biggest FAC games of the year, and the Nelsonville York Buckeyes head to Vinton County to battle it out for the TVC Ohio crown. So join us on Friday night at 11:30 p.m. at WOUB. And remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory. Welcome back to Newswatch. I'm Aiden Crowley. The Ohio soccer team is in a battle in Mount Pleasant, Michigan. The Bobcats lead Central Michigan 1-0 going into the locker room. The Bobcats still look to find their footing in MAC play. Ohio's off to an uncharacteristic 2-3-1 start in a deep conference. The Chippewas have struggled to a 2-8-3 record at the halfway point. A win today can help put the Bobcats on a path to make it back to the MAC tournament. Ohio field hockey has 2 big games this weekend at Pruitt Field as they try to stop a 5-game skid. The Bobcats face MAC opponent Central Michigan Friday and St. Francis from the Northeast Conference Sunday. Ohio could use more goals with just 3 in its last 3 games. The Bobcats want to come away with a couple more wins as the regular season closes out later this month. Tomorrow's match against the Chippewas starts at 2. Ohio women's volleyball returns to the convo for the first time in 3 weeks after a 2-game set against Buffalo. The Bobcats come in winning 4 out of their 6 previous matchups. Senior Parker Kowalski, and Olivia Margolis are fresh off MAC Players of the Week honors. This weekend is crucial for the Bobcats as they attempt to improve their standings before the postseason. The first match against the Bulls tomorrow begins at 7. The Nelsonville York volleyball team and Alexander square off for the second time this year. The Buckeyes are at home tonight to defend their dominant 20-1 record. NY took down the Spartans 3-0 in the first matchup at Alexander. The Spartans look to play spoiler on the Buckeyes' perfect 11-0 record. An Alexander win means the TVC Ohio crown is shared, and a Buckeye dub means NY hosts the trophy. First service set for 7 p.m. The Ohio Bobcats hop on a flight to Kalamazoo, Michigan to take on the Western Michigan Broncos this weekend. The Bobcats search for their first road win of the season in Waldo Stadium Saturday. The last time these two teams squared off was in 2019, where the Bobcats fell 37-34 in overtime. The Broncos' 2-4 record coming into the contest this year might be deceiving. Head coach Tim Alvin says Western Michigan's defense might be a challenge for the big play Bobcats.
I mean, our strength probably as a football team is offensively, their strengths without question their defense. They have got 0 underclassmen in the top 15 guys.
Curtis Rourke and the high-flying offense take the field Saturday at 3:30. Ohio hockey takes the ice this weekend, defending a perfect record. The Bobcats have swept both John Carroll and the Alabama Frozen Tide, but the Ohio heads west to Champaign, Illinois to take on the Illinois Fighting Illini in a 2-game weekend series. Illinois is the opposite of Ohio with an 0-4 record. The Illini search for their first win after losses to Missouri State and Purdue. Puck drops for the first game between these two squads, and it's set for tomorrow at 7. And guys, it's been really cool to see second-year head coach Lionel Marone from Switzerland kind of lead this locker room.
Yeah, I'm just so glad that it's finally hockey season.
Yeah, and Switzerland and Ohio are very different, so it's cool to see that he's sticking it out here for a good season. Now we're going to take it back to Peyton for weather.
Thanks, Emma. It's going to be a chilly night here in Athens. We're looking at an overnight low of 38. I might be getting my scarf out and maybe even some mittens. It's going to be cold, but it's going to be mostly clear night. So in that sense, it's going to be a pleasant evening. And tomorrow we're looking at a temperature high of 63 with a low of 45. So it's going to be a chillier morning, but it's definitely going to warm up in the afternoon, and it's going to be a sunnier day. But as we move into the weekend, we're going to expect some rainfall on Saturday. And then next week, the temperatures are going to cool down quite a bit. So definitely expect a chillier week. Back to you, Emma.
Astronomers say they've uncovered a graveyard of dead stars in the Milky Way. It stretches 3 times the height of our 13 billion-year-old galaxy. They found the ancient stellar remnants when they mapped the galactic underworld for the first time. When a star more than 8 times larger than the sun collapses, the stellar core condenses into either a neutron star or black hole. Study co-author Peter Tuthill says finding the oldest neutron stars and black holes has been a major task. The researchers mapped where the stellar remains rest by recreating the life cycle of the ancient stars. Guys, I mean, to me it's crazy that there's just so much of space that we don't even know exists. It's actually crazy.
No, I know, this is insane. I didn't even know this was happening right now.
And that does it for our broadcast this evening. Thanks for watching. For all of us here at Newswatch, I'm Juliana Colant.
And I'm Emma Dollamere. Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. And remember, you can find the latest news anytime at WOUB.org. Have a great night.
Support comes from Visit Athens County. More information can be found at AthensOhio.com. Athens, it's more than a place. Support comes from Goldsberry